It's the truth.
It smells so good. What is this?
Okay, that's the
It's the best. Huh?
Okay, shalom everybody. Hope everybody's having a Tawab Monday. Shout out ISBHPK Houston, ISBHPK Norfolk, ISBHPK Rochester, Shalom Kawakab, teaching in Guatemala, Shalom the Israel out here getting the word out and teaching and doing their best to reach our nation. Shalom and good day. Today, we're going to be going over, the title of the class is The Rise and Fall of Russian Hegemony. Last week we went into the fall of American unipolar hegemony. And all that means in a nutshell is the first class on Monday was about the fall of America and the ascension of Russia and all the telltale clues letting us know scripturally and prophetically how we know Russia is getting pulled back with hooks. And they're getting pulled back with hooks through United States provocation. People want to, on the outside, see this beef between Ukraine and Russia. But if you look into the details and the depth and the history of things, this has been going on in an intensified process since 2014. And you can even push it further back to 2008 during the Orange Revolution when they started regime changing Ukraine, because before that time you had Russian leaders who were extensions of Putin's regime that were ruling over in Ukraine. When the Orange Revolution kicked in, they started switching out the Russian rulers and trying to really influence the politics of Ukraine by implementing Ukrainian pro-Nazi left or far-right position.
Which means that Russia
leadership.
lost territory.
They were losing territory, and then they started creating a lot of rifts between the people in Ukraine that wanted to go and support Ukraine versus they still had large factions in Ukraine that were still pro-Russian.
Yeah, loyalists, you had defectors.
So you had, and the country was split up between Russian-speaking Ukrainians and Ukrainian-speaking Ukrainians. And they took advantage of that beef and that separatism and created a lot of stress. And what Esau likes to call it is they were destabilizing the nation. They were destabilizing the country, opening the door to set up, I would say, the eventual or the hoped fall of Russia. That was their plans. That was their goal from a long time. So now we went through, I would say, 8 verses plus, or 7 verses plus, explain this process in detail. Now we're going to go into verse 8 and kind of give an explanation of what's the next phase once Russia starts to draw forward. Because the first part in Ezekiel talked about how the Most High was going to turn Russia back to their original landmarks, to their original position they had before 1991. Then you're hearing about how the Most High is going to bring them forth. Now, just a little tidbit on what's happening even today. NATO is really trying to speed up the paperwork for Finland to be introduced into NATO. Now, with that being said, the only reason that they even want to include Finland into NATO is to bring nukes. Because, what you gonna say?
We have to be honest. They've been putting out in the news and they've been projecting and saying, "Hey, these guys are trying to put a dirty bomb," which
they're saying Russia. You know, Russia is saying and announcing that the Ukrainians have built a dirty bomb, and that they were using this quote unquote dirty bomb as a false flag.
Yeah, to unify all Europe against Russia. But the issue, hey. And then you have, they said they want to drop it in Chernobyl probably, because Chernobyl's already been nuked before because they had that nuclear destabilization, or they had a breakdown of that factory.
It was Chernobyl or it was Nikolai.
Yeah.
So it was rumored to be in different locations. It was rumored to be that they're awesome.
These are rumors, but these rumors are getting closer and closer to reality.
But the only thing that might circumvent that was how Russia kind of got it out in the media as quickly as possible.
It's a possibility, though.
Well, it's still a possibility, but what they're trying to do is America was trying to self-sabotage Ukraine to justify full entry with NATO and all the allies into Ukraine to further escalate these situations. This entire process has all been about escalating, intensifying, and trying to get. They're not trying to slow down at all this process of getting and conquering Russia through the use of Ukraine. They spent $50 billion plus in weaponry and different means to start weakening the country. I said last week that the 101st Airborne was in Poland. They're in Romania. Romania has close. Romania. Did I say Romania?
You did.
Just wanted to make sure. I was thinking Poland, but they're definitely in Romania, and it's closer access to southern Ukraine. Because what they're trying to do is to stop them in Kherson.
Yeah.
If they can stop them in Kherson, they can beat them to Transnistria. Okay, I'm throwing a lot of different names out and words and countries and areas, but Transnistria is a Russian province that's in the city of, or in the country of Moldova. If they connect from Kherson to Moldova or Transnistria, now they've completely cut off any water ports and seas for Ukraine. And once Ukraine is landlocked, they're nothing. They'll completely take down their GDP and take down their power source. So that's what's really happening out here. So the United States, by all means necessary, even in their media outlets, they're talking about the possibility of first strike nuclear, using nuclear weapons as a preemptive scenario. They're already throwing it out there in the media to program them that this could actually happen. On top of that, they're already trying to get nukes into Finland, which Russia has already said is a no-no. Now, if we're going to even go back to getting pulled back further, Russia didn't have control of Finland since the early 1900s, when it was Peter the Great was running Russia. I mean, that was 1800s. I'm sorry, that was 1800s when Peter the Great ran Russia. So they might get pulled out and instigated to where they have to even take out Finland on top of all their original lands that they had in 1991.
And simultaneously, the supercell that Russia has.
Don't go there yet. Don't go there yet. That's later, man. No, not. It
No,
might
no,
be in
no.
class. I don't want to go. I don't want to go on. We're not going to talk about Poseidon yet.
Yeah, I got you.
We'll go on to Poseidon
Take
later.
my time. We don't rush. We don't look at the rush.
You tell us. I got this one for you. Kablooey. Literally and physically. Anyway, so this one. So now we're going to read verse 8.
Yeah.
Let's get there. So we're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 8. Now y'all pulling all the fun.
I'm so sorry about that.
We're going to talk about the end time, all the end times, all in one. No stories. Man, listen, the story, you got to have an introduction,
Yeah, we're right.
a beginning, and we're going to lead in. We're going to get to a crescendo, a climax, then we're going to take it down, man.
You're right.
Anyway, let's read verse 8.
Ezekiel 38 and verse 8. After many days, thou shalt be visited.
And if you sit back and read from verse 1 all the way through, you'll understand why last week we went from 1 to 7, jumped to 14 and 15. And now we're back here in verse 8. So it's after many days thou shalt be visited. Okay, read on.
In the latter years, thou shalt come into the land.
Stop. We're going to explain these latter years really quickly. Hold this verse, and we're going to go to Revelations chapter 13 and verse 2.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 2.
I am ready.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
So this beast, now we know who that beast is because we read from Daniel's chapter 7. Then we read in 2nd Esdras chapter, matter of fact, I might as well do that real quick. I have to. 2nd Esdras chapter 12. 2nd Esdras 12 in verse 10 through 12.
2nd Ezra.
2nd Esdras chapter 12 verse 10 through 12.
Second Ezra chapter 12, verse 10. And he said unto me, this is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle, whom thou sawest come up from the sea, is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel.
So, Daniel only explained the fourth beast as being the fourth beast, great and terrible. Second Ezra, or Ezra, explains that fourth beast as being the eagle. Okay? The eagle, which was great and terrible, just like Daniel explained it. Read verse 12.
Verse 12. But it was not expounded unto him, therefore now I declare it unto thee.
So listen, the Most High gave different prophets different visions of the same topic. When you sit back here and read in Revelations 20, Revelations 13, you'll read in 2nd Ezra 11 and 12, you'll read Daniel 2, Daniel 7, you'll start seeing similar points talking about the same situation. And if you read it long enough, you'll start being able to put the pieces together. Same thing even with Ezekiel. So, with that being the case, go back to Revelations 13 and 2 again.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
This beast was like a leopard, because the leopard, if you connect it back to Daniel chapter 7, talked about the who? The Greek Empire. The Greek Empire was the first Edomite nation to be in power. So we know the fourth beast is the eagle, but the similitude of it was as the leopard, because the first thing you see when you're seeing the Edomite Empire, the first Edomite nation to be in the power was the Greek Empire. Read on.
It said, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
Now we know the feet is the latter end, and that latter end, the last empire, is the bear. So even in this chapter, Revelations 13, the chapter is really going from the Greek Empire all the way to present day times that leads us to the Russian Empire. Okay, so the Russian Empire is the bear, and it's the latter end of the beast. It's the last empire of the beast. Does that make sense? Read on.
It says, and his mouth was as the mouth of a lion.
And we understand that the mouth is referring to the British Empire, because if you look at all the history and the times, we got it online here. You got the eagle on the left, the lion on the right. The eagle was representing America because they were the world power at the time. On the right, at the top right was the lion. The lion represented the British Empire. And if you understand how the system of Edomite hegemony goes, the British banking system was the template of how to subjugate nations over time from generation to generation. We mentioned it yesterday or last week how the British Empire was able to sit back here and take the slavery label off people and still get the maximum out of the servitude of the people. So their banking system, their policy, their strategy has been used and implemented in the eagle for quite some time. So now we're here and we're talking about this eagle, which is the Edomite nation, the fourth kingdom, whose beginnings was the Greek Empire. Their latter end is the Russian Empire. Their foundation and their infrastructure is British based. Read on. And the dragon.
It says, and the dragon gave him his power.
And we understand, even from reading in Luke chapter 4, that Satan is the one that's the physical representative to give the power and dominion for the nations that he chooses to give. Right? We know the Most High overall ultimately gives that power, but he allows Satan to give it to who he wants to give it to. So Satan is the one who gave the Greeks the power all the way through America to present day Russia. So read on.
And his seat and great authority.
The reason we went to Revelations 13 and 2 is just to express that the bear is referring to the latter end of the Edomite Empire, the so-called Caucasian Empire. That's why we went there. You see the ladder, and now we get to Ezekiel 38 in verse 8 again, from the top.
Ezekiel 38 and verse 8. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land.
So now we're still talking about these latter years. The latter years is the latter times when the Russian Empire was on the ascending level. With that being said, after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land. Read on.
Come into the land that is brought back from the sword.
Now this land is brought back from the sword. Where have we read about a nation that was brought back from the sword? Or brought back from death for 1,000 years? Or for a period of time? You're still, when you're reading these Revelation chapters and verses, you can't look at it as it's just Rome. It's the evolution of the Edomite nation. They just had different hats, different realms of leadership, different heads.
Of those Romans.
Yes, it's the children of the Greeks, the children of the Romans.
Because Rome returned.
Then they had a fall for a period of time. Then they're resurrected as the Spanish Empire.
Exactly.
Then you had the French had their run.
Yeah.
Then it went back to England, had their run. Germany had their run. The Austrian-Hungarian Empire had their run. All these different empires of the Edomite nation had their run at different times.
But the same descendancy.
But they're the same nation.
God.
So you're just saying French Caucasian, Spanish Caucasian, Portuguese Caucasian,
Yeah.
Dutch Caucasian, because they had their run also
God.
when they were imperializing the Republic of Congo. When they were sitting back here cutting people's hands off and arms off for rubber.
Leopold, yeah.
Leopold. So they had their run. The Portuguese had their run when they were colonizing Brazil. So all these different Edomites had their empire and their run. So when you're looking at it this way, we're looking at, it says, that is brought back from the sword. You're really talking about the present day empire that the latter end is about to overcome. It's going to make more sense as we're going. Read verse 8 again. As we read it, it will be more clear.
Ezekiel, the 38 and verse 8.
I'm taking my time. I think it's important that we repeat as much as possible. If you don't understand, let me know. Read on.
It says, after many days, thou shalt be visited.
We understand
After
that
many ages or days?
days,
of time?
periods of time.
Not days like so. Cause
No.
I got to slow it down a little bit for me. You know what I'm saying, right? So when we talk about days, we're not talking about literal days. Scriptures being slightly figurative, or the term it sounds vague, but it's saying after
A period of time.
After a period of time, eras of time. Now we're getting to this situation.
Because even when you're reading 38 from the top, these verses aren't happening like right now.
So you said
This
it's
thing-
like a whole generation or something, or
Many generations.
kind?
The process of Russia being brought to their apex, then being brought back down, and then ascending again took a long time. Don't forget, Russia became the second strongest nation on the earth after World War II in 1945. In 1945, before 45, you had the British Empire was top dog. They had holdings and control over from Indochina, India. You had China. You had Hong Kong. They were everywhere in Africa. But then what happened is after 1945, they were overextended and bankrupt, so they couldn't sustain and hold or maintain their holdings.
Because
So
military warfare takes money.
The money it took to sit back and fight the Germans broke them. So now they were overextended and had to give up the majority of their holdings. So the power vacuum came in. And now you had America in the West and Russia in the East. They began to be the world superpowers. And that's when the Cold War started. So this whole time from the Cold War in 1945 to I would say 91 was the process of the United States breaking down Russia
To that wall collapse.
and trying to, when the wall collapsed, communism broke down, and then all of a sudden a lot of Russia's territory, they lost it. Okay, that when that happened is when Russia started to fall apart. Then that was when Gorbachev was still in power. Soon after Gorbachev, you had Boris Yeltsin. He was heavy on the liquor, and the United States used him and played him like a fiddle.
Yeah.
Pretty much through the 90s.
He was there. He was there.
He was there through all the 90s, And then Yeltsin sat back here and turned over the power to Putin in 2000. And that's when things started rebuilding. Yes, sir?
So should I put like in note taking here days or like times or ages?
Well, this is when you're reading prophecy. There are periods of time. There are periods of time because when you're sitting back in the process of returning Russia back to their locations, their original spots, that took from 2000 to present day. It wasn't just a now thing.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to get you guys to see it in that way, so you can understand when you're reading verse, like in verse 8, after many days thou shalt be visited. Meaning after many days, when Russia gets prepared militarily, after all these agitations and these wars and these instigations, now they're ready to draw forth. Because at this point, they're ready to draw forth. It's beyond just recovering old territory. Once old territory is covered, the next phase is drawing forth. That means now we're going to leave our original landmarks. Now we're going to start taking over other locations. Russia has been in their spot since the 40s. They've had some, what do you call it, little, I'm not going to say wars, but they had proxy wars with the Americans since the 40s, but there was no territory change until now. And we showed it online last week when they added the Donbass and those locations to their country. That was the first time that happened. It's online since the beginning. Now they're being drawn forth.
Can I say this?
But real quick, after they're drawn forth to their original locations, then after they're pulled back, then they're going to draw forth. And now we're in verse 8. It's talking about the process of Russia drawing forth and going to other countries. And that's after many days. After a process of time. You got to understand, even right now where Russia's under succeeding territory and land, that started in February. They didn't start succeeding in bringing Ukraine into their fold until September. That was 7 months. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 8 months. Now they're starting to regain territory from their past. It takes time.
I just want to make a relatable concept.
I'm not relatable right now.
No.
I'm not touching the people, man. I'm not touching the people.
I was in
Too
geography.
much for the people, bro.
I was in geography class, and there was certain times that the team was going in, and I'm like, my mind started going to turn to spaghetti out. But this is very close and very similar to, on a small level of one city, you have Crips and Bloods. You have Crips and Bloods at one time. This gang was stronger than this gang, and then they had this territory. They started getting weaker, and they started losing territory. They didn't have the resources, the manpower to sit here and sustain whatever block they had. So what happened? They had to go back, they had to fall back, and they had to re-up resources and come back. It's the same game on the world stage. It's just you're dealing with corporations, you're dealing with countries and nations, you're dealing with different heads, you're dealing with different personalities, and different strategies. But it's the same concept. That's all I want to say. I want to make it all.
Yeah. You want red or blue colors of blood, man?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Russia versus the States is really similar. It's very similar, bro. I mean, beefing for
I don't want to go, because if I go there, it's going to take it.
I get you right.
No, I was telling him about.
Well, the sword's down here. The sword's down here.
That's later on in the class. So we were trying to build it up. That we haven't got there yet. In the prophecy, it's there. Russia's getting geared up to start going out and conquering territory. So where we're at now is they're going to go to the country that was brought back from the sword. The country that was brought back from the sword is at this present time America. Because America at this present time in the prophecy is still the world superpower. It's going to get a little clearer. Read verse 8 from the top.
Ezekiel 38 in verse 8. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people.
Now listen, when it says this country is gathered out of many people, what's the first country you think about? When you think about a country gathered out of many people.
Multiple nations?
It was a melting pot. What country is the melting pot?
America.
It's America. So what's happening is now Russia is prepared in the latter days, because they're the upcoming world power, to start going at this country that has gathered many people. Online, you'll see an image of the melting pot, which is talking about the United States.
Yeah.
But now they're gathered together to go to this country that was brought back from the sword, which is still a remnant or an aspect of the eagle. We know America is part of the eagle. Hell, their symbol is the eagle. And they were gathered out of many people, which is talking about that great melting pot that America is established on, whether it's the melting of religions and beliefs and systems and ideologies and the accepting of all different nationalities and beliefs. Bring your cold, bring your hungry, bring them all to America. That's what that, Lady Liberty, quote unquote, is supposed to be about. So now, we're going to continue.
Yeah. And is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste.
Listen, he says they're going to go against this nation of people that has gathered all these people, also against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. When you sit back here, and from the time of the Spanish Empire, what was the first nation that was targeted by the eagle to stifle out, seek out, break down, and destroy? Israel was wiped out first. When you read in Revelations, I don't have it on top of my head, but it talks about how Israel was wiped out first, then the rest of the nations were wiped out and destroyed and put in subjugation. So the first focus was to take out the Israelites in North, Central, and South America. So once again, he's explaining the country that was brought back from the sword, that gathers out all these people, and it also houses these Israelites that have been always laid waste. In Revelations? Let me see it.
Revelations 20 and verse. There's something about how they got loose and then went to campus with the saints.
Yeah, Revelations 20 and what?
7 through 9.
I'm going there again.
You made a statement.
Revelations what, 20?
It's Revelations 20 and verse 9 is the actual verse, but you had to read up because you said the loose.
No, I don't want this one. There's another one that talks about it.
Okay.
There's another one that talks about how, I think it was in 18 somewhere, how Israel was targeted, and then the nations were targeted. And then they encompassed the whole world. Anyway, I know where this is at. I'm going to go there. I have to go there later on. That's why I don't want to jump into there yet. So, once again, verse 8 from the top. I think it's important that we keep going back to this point until it's smooth, there's no confusion. All right? Read on.
Ezekiel 38 and verse 8. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people.
So Russia is going to sit back here and gather together and come against this nation that was gathered out of many people, which is America. And also Russia is going to come against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. Israel, read on.
Yeah. But it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them.
What he's saying is that Israel, by the time Russia gets to America, Israel is going to be dwelling safely in this country. And for the most part, minus some police violence and crap like that, Israel has assimilated into this country and they're comfortable. So with that being said, this is prophecy about in the latter days how the bear is going to raise up and start a commotion and a tumult in America that also has Israelites living there, dwelling safely and comfortably there. That makes sense? All right, read on.
Verse 9. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm.
Now, thou is talking about Gog and Magog, the people of the leadership of Russia, and the people of Russia, the armies and their allies, are going to ascend and come like a storm. Read on.
Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land.
Mm-hmm.
Thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee.
So this is talking about Russia's going to come and invade America. This is part of prophecy. They're going to get, don't forget, if you see the tone of how things are going now, they're getting goaded into war. And they're not, and as diplomatic as Putin is trying to be, all bets are off. They're going to keep getting drawn and drawn out and drawn out into this full-fledged war. And they're going to get to the point where they know the only way to stop this aggravation is to go to that country and take them out in their home turf. Okay, so the war is coming to America. Yes, sir?
How are they going to pull that off?
I tell you what, I can see it happening. I can see it happening. Listen, all it takes is a couple L's with NATO and America out there. All it takes is if they lose Ukraine. Just imagine this. Imagine they lose Ukraine. They've exhausted a lot of resources in Ukraine. Now you lose Ukraine. None of the army in NATO. I don't know if people know this, but Ukraine had around 600,000 plus men starting into this. This was their best shot. If they lose Ukraine, the next strongest army that's in NATO is Turkey. And guess who Turkey's lined up with? Turkey's lined up with Russia. Because they're making money. They're making money with Russia. So they're lined up with Russia. They're about to go into BRICS. So now the third strongest army in Europe is Poland. Is the Polacks. So now they're not gonna. They might have 200,000. That ain't enough, bro. That's going them getting pulled out more into Poland. So now NATO and America are using the majority of their resources, their HIMARS, their weaponry. All these HIMARS that they're sending out to Russia, they can't replace them for another 2 years. And that's a fact. You can look onto it. They can't replace these HIMARS and these long-range guided missiles for 2 years. It's not easy to make these things. And what America's military strategic approach has been is more finesse. We're not going to sit back and invest in guns and on-the-ground weaponry. We're going to sit back and invest with strategic missiles, technical missiles in the submarines, and with your HIMARS systems, which are like a million a system. So that they're very finesse, they're heavy finesse, but also these HIMARS can't take a lot of wear and tear on the ground. They're realizing that in this Ukrainian war, that Russia's been sitting back here blowing up these HIMARS depots. So out of every 10 HIMARS, you might shoot off 3. And what they were talking about in these different shows is that when they were busting up Iraq and Iran, not Iran, but Iraq and the Taliban and Afghanistan and all these countries that didn't have the weaponry to retaliate, none of them had anti-aircraft systems. Because Russia didn't have the money to put into the military systems, they couldn't spend the way America spends. So they had to spend on training, hand-to-hand combat, fighting on the ground, and anti-aircraft systems. So they're able to sit back and shoot a lot of these specialty fancy bombs out the sky without maybe out of 10 HIMARS, 2 might hit. Point is this: all the weaponry that's being purchased, they're coming out of their stores, their storehouses. They're running low on all these extra items. They don't talk about it on your mainstream media, but they're running low on these specialty weaponry. So once all these weaponry, once the war is exhausted in Europe, which is going to take time. That's why it says in latter days, because it ain't going to happen tomorrow. But these wars are going to be happening in Europe, and once they're all spent in Europe, they got to go to the head and take the. Listen, Putin's been talking about a multipolar world.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not going to just be America just running roughshod on everybody. It's going to be America, let them do their thing. China, let them do their thing. Russia, we're going to do our thing. Let us operate in freedom.
Break the power down in multiple states.
But America's not going to let that happen. So they're doubling down on this unipolar thing. So they're going to keep going at all. They're going to do everything they can to ensure that Russia stops in Ukraine. But if it doesn't work, they're going to keep getting drawn out through Europe.
It's a geopolitical failure on behalf of the U.S. and those elites that finance and run the U.S. If they don't win this war right here, if they don't win this battle, it's going to keep steamrolling because they have to keep doubling down. It's not like they're going to sit back here and if they lose Ukraine, they're going to back off and go home. Can't do it.
They can't do
You
it.
can't take the L.
They have to keep going, and this is why they blew up Nord Stream 2.
Pipeline.
Because they're like, Germany, you're not going to back out on us. You're getting weak. We're going to blow this shit up. So now that we're going to double down. We're going to blow this damn power up. You're going to all be cold in Europe. We're going to all freeze together, my nigga. We're not going to freeze. Y'all going to freeze.
Y'all gonna freeze together.
And you know, it's going to force y'all to sit back here and fight, and there's no turning back.
Which
So
is
that's
hard.
the point.
It's a
So
crazy
when
policy.
Ukraine loses, the next process is going to be going further west. And they're going to go further west until they get to the destination and the heart and the center of where all this shit's coming from. Yep.
So the only way I see that happening is if they cross the Bering Sea into Alaska.
That could
So
be
they're
one
going
way.
through the Aleutian Islands. They don't have a blue water navy, so they're not going to make it across the Atlantic, and they ain't making it across. There's no way they make it across the Pacific anyway.
Well, how about Canada's not with us though?
They don't need to be
How-
with us.
I don't know, but as far as if they just need the territory, if they did, on a strategic
But what
level.
you have to understand, even scripturally, the 10 horns are going to turn on America too.
Exactly.
That's what Revelation 13 talks about. I'm not going to that whole chapter, but the 10 horns are going to turn, NATO is going to turn on America.
But even then, they don't got a blue water navy to cross.
But
the
you're
Atlantic.
getting overly technical, and where there's a will, there's a way. If we know prophetically that NATO or the European Union is going to turn on America, and I can see that happening right now.
Yeah,
All the
no doubt.
shit that's happening with the people and the shit that America is putting the EU through, I can see him turn over and turn easily on them.
They're
And when
going
that
broke.
happens, listen, the crazy thing is this.
Yeah.
China has a navy. China has a navy that's second to the United States.
Yeah, but they still have to get through the Taiwan Strait.
And listen, that's not the end of the world. Listen, China doesn't invest their money into the on-ground wars. China invests their money in their submarines. Now America is still top with their naval scenarios. There's no doubt about it. But and Russia is like third or fourth. China's two. In China, we're gonna go on further in class. China owns all the seaports in the West Coast. They own the West Coast, and they own significant parts of the Midwest. The scripture does tell you in Amos how it's, when the end of the days is like a man when he puts his hand
On the wall.
On a wall, a serpent's gonna bite him.
Yeah.
Jesus was fighting the bear.
So you're fighting the bear. I'm focused on this bullshit in Europe, and I'm trying to sit back and do this, and the damn China boys come get me with their submarines and shit.
Right.
And now when I'm preoccupied fighting China, guess who got time to come here and finish the deal? There's so many different ways this can happen. There's a reason that Putin. Funny thing is this: the president or the head guy of China.
Zing, right?
He's not.
His name is Zing.
Zing zang zow. No, he's not. But listen, his name is escaping me. Xi.
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, Xi Jinping. Point is, he's sitting back here. That was correct. Xi Jinping. He's sitting back here waiting to see how this thing is working out. But listen, America's. Listen, I don't know if y'all heard this, but the United States is working on what's the word? When they start to they're starting to sanction China. They're starting to sanction China, and they're starting to take out. They're not giving them the computer chips they're looking for right now.
Oh yeah.
This is why they're going at Taiwan in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Taiwan's the number one
Number one
computer
manufacturer
manufacturing in the world. And they're saying we're cutting you off too from the company's called NVIDIA, NVIDIA.
Nvidia, yeah.
NVIDIA.
They're sitting back here saying we're going to cut off. We're going to sanction China and not give them computer chips.
That's why Pelosi's up there.
This is the war. Exactly. Listen, they're going to war with China too. Listen, they're doubling down. They're not stopping, bro. They're going to try to break China. They're going to try to break Russia, because these are the two forces that are the greatest adversaries to America. And they're sitting back here talking about, yeah, we recognize Taiwan. And then Biden says, oh no, we respect that Taiwan's Chinese. but then we're also going to respect Taiwan and everything.
Yeah,
Like, what are you saying?
talking about.
Either you're with Taiwan or you're with China. There's no middle ground. So they're already instigating China. But China's just sitting here doing this.
I see how you are.
Okay. Russia, you need some trade line help? We'll shoot you this. We'll shoot you some weapons. What you need? You need supplies? We'll shoot you supplies. They're doing that. They're helping Russia with supplies.
And they can manufacture.
Because they're like,
China
the
can
enemy
make
of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly.
Because China's not really in love with Russia, but I'll work with you to break these MFs.
They owe us money. We've been owed money.
But the
We've been owed money. Every time you look up, man, we owe China.
But the problem is this: the funny thing is they owe, like we saw it today.
Yeah.
All they gotta do is keep printing more money, so they're not paying anything. They're not really paying anything back because all the currency is in the dollar.
Yeah.
So I can just keep printing $1 billion. It don't matter. I'll give you funny money, my
It's
dude.
funny
I'm
until
gonna give you rubbery funny money, and so I really don't owe you anything.
until Saudi Arabia.
Turns the petrol
Ain't trying
down.
to play the
Come on. But see, everybody's still a little scared. They're talking about switching. Ain't nobody did nothing yet. Because they're waiting to see if this Russia thing pans out. If Russia starts to win, then they'll start hedging their bets that way. But they're not going to do anything definitively until they get a W from Russia. But my point is this: once Russia takes down Ukraine, then guess who's going to get some confidence? Them Chinese boys, huh?
Yeah.
Listen, they own all the harbors.
Exactly.
There was a rumor a while ago about a possible invasion of China. It didn't happen. But how they're easily able to access the ports because they own the ports, and they can go through a covert approach and do it way easier than America. Way easier than Russia.
Remember we had that blockade in the ocean, all those ships just sitting there. This is the traffic jam in the ocean.
And that was the point.
God.
They can sit back and go through those same harbors undetected.
God.
It can be done. So that's how they can get in. And Russia can come whatever conventional way they want to. If America's weakened in the West Coast, they're vulnerable, bro. They're vulnerable.
It's been bad over there.
And then you know what? Then bombs are gonna flip. Yeah. Bombs are gonna be pushed. But this place can be touched. And this is what the prophecy is saying. That this place can be touched. Especially with the assistance of China.
This is why we put to serve the Most High. That's why every class Monday through.
You better read that Bible.
Read the Bible. It's your job.
Yeah, but
serve Christ.
Let's get back. This guy is hilarious. Okay, read verse 9 again.
God.
Ezekiel 38 and 9.
Ezekiel 38 and verse 9. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, and thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands.
Listen, his bands are his allies. So Russia's coming and their allies are coming. The allies are waiting.
Yeah.
They just don't have the courage to stand up.
Yeah.
Listen, even if you sit back and see how this war is escalated, it was a special military operation. We just want to defend the Donetsk people and Lugansk and Kherson people. And all of a sudden, we're going to annex this shit. And next year, we're going to take Kiev. This is bullshit. We're going to take all of Ukraine.
Yep.
And there's going to be more. Okay, you guys keep pushing. You guys keep poking the bear. Listen, they open the seaports so that the Ukrainians can send wheat to the poor nations. And so guess what the Ukrainians did? They gave 80% of the wheat to NATO. The deal was this: we open up the ports, give the grain to the poor people, and start loosening up the sanctions on us. We're showing you kindness, loosen up the sanctions on us. They said, okay, no problem. So they took the grain and sent it to Europe, and then loosened up the sanctions on Russia. So now Russia's like, we're going to close up these ports. And that was after Ukraine was starting to bomb Russia in your Crimea, in the sea. So now, like, Zelensky, with his little nasty ass, like, green T-shirt, is saying they are breaking the way, and they must die because they promised us this. No, they changed. Like, dude, you guys are attacking the Russians in the same port. You're supposed to be bringing the damn wheat out from. What am I saying? What I'm saying is,
they need that waterway for the import and export.
Yeah, that's why they're gonna take it. And when they take it, Ukraine is dead. They're landlocked. Your GDP is gone. the majority of the land they're annexing is where the wheat comes from anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They're screwed. Point is, with all this being said, in verse 9, America's going to get hit.
This is prophecy.
Russia and their allies are coming. Now, who comes first? Who knows? But China got the easiest logistical place to get it done. It was being rumored that America was going to try to send nukes to Taiwan. I don't know if y'all heard that.
Yeah.
These guys are maniacs. They're maniacs.
In the backyard of China. China.
You think they're going to take that, bro?
They're going to be on fire.
You think they're going to take it, bro? Are you serious? What you they're about to blow up Taiwan because Pelosi shot through.
Yeah.
They was ready to go crazy.
Shut the bank. She was her bank account out.
Listen, keep going. You know her son's in the board of directors for that microchip spot, right?
Come on.
Her son's on the board. That's why she was there. She brought her son to the microchip place in Taiwan. Pelosi's son.
He's one of the board trustees.
Yeah. So he's getting paid.
For TSMC?
The mic. I don't know the name of the microchip place in Taiwan, but her son's on the board at that spot. Yeah, that's why she was there. She gonna check on her investment. That's about she's taking her money out.
She's rich. She's rich.
I know that.
Rich.
She's rich. She's third in command. What you gonna say, man?
No, I was just talking about the China has the biggest mega port in Peru right now. They built it. They finished building it in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
They have a port in Peru.
Mexico too.
And Mexico, by
Yes.
California. There's a whole lot.
It's like they got ports everywhere, B. And then guess where there's another port? Nicaragua.
Yeah,
They got Nicaragua. They got a Russian military base in Nicaragua. They're a hop, skip, and a jump, bro.
In the backyard. In the backyard. They got shooters in the backyard.
They got shooters in the backyard.
Like this.
Back door.
They in the backyard like this.
Listen,
Like Scarface out.
they got them, huh?
It's bad, bro.
Hey, listen, there is a military base in Nicaragua. Nicaragua is pro-Russian. Just to say, I'm just saying. And China, listen, America, Biden have sold all America to China. Them and all their Democratic
The
compatriots.
Clintons been doing this. The Clintons
They've been doing it.
over
I know.
Clintons, Obamas, and now Biden. That
Regime.
That regime has been systematically. And then Hillary Clinton.
We got some more. In the next verses about China.
Hillary Clinton was selling nuclear all the secrets on a corporate level, all the corporate information and corporate secrets. Because remember, the U.S. is when it comes to being witches and warlocks and far as in technology, America's the best when it comes to witchcraft on that technological level, and China knows it. But guess what? Guess who's selling those secrets? Hillary. Hillary was selling all the secrets and giving all the keys and the codes out there to the Asians. The Asians were out there.
They getting up, down, left, right, left.
Exactly. Getting all the codes. Getting all the codes out. And then the professors at colleges, the students are spies. The professors are spies. So they've been sitting here doing these college projects, going in there and getting these.
So while they're selling them out, China's just sitting here
stacking up,
buying property, which we're going to explain in a second. And now they're realizing that they're getting weak.
And they manufacture everything we make, even military stuff. They manufacture our stuff.
That way I said America is a service-based country now.
Yeah.
We don't industrialize anything anymore.
We can't make pancakes barely. We barely make a pancake out. You know it's true.
It's true.
It's
we can barely make pancakes out there.
It's over.
Listen, it's almost over. So this is where now we're at the spot where Russia and their allies are coming through. Don't forget, Russia has the muscle. They have the military presence on the ground. That really, everybody's clowning Ukraine, but Ukraine is the toughest of all these Edomites next to the Russians. The Ukrainians are dogs, bro. They just were given crap weaponry, World War II weaponry, to fight these guys.
And they got heart.
They
got heart because
they're dogs. That's what I'm saying.
You always showed that picture back there, right? A couple weeks ago. These guys, man, they were all burnt up. You saw bodies everywhere. Real pictures, not like the not the fake pictures.
Shrapnel's in their head, bro.
But they were out like you play video games. You just like kill people in video games. Like,
nah, bro. This is
not a video game, bro. These bodies are charred bodies. Guys with shrapnel in their skulls. You can see their guts out, legs blown off, arms missing, faces ripped off. skin missing, fire, people's hairy scalps out there, clothes all garbage, people are molding and flies. That's real, and they're this late by the 500s.
And they were just taking the bodies and throwing them in like a 26-foot truck out.
It was
I'm
a
serious.
garbage truck.
They were
It was a
putting
garbage
them,
truck.
throwing them in a 26-foot truck and just bagging them up, tagging them.
Yeah.
Point is, the war is real, and these Ukrainians aren't no soft chumps, bro.
Yeah.
And they're still getting their asses handed to them. And after Ukraine falls, the rest of these NATO countries are cupcakes out.
And
you get to France and Germany, they're gonna break, bro.
They want tea.
They're gonna break by the time they get to
They
France
want
and Germany.
crumpets. They want crumpets, and they want little coffee. They want the little croissants.
They want biscotti.
I'm doing art.
They want
I'm doing art.
biscottis.
Yeah, but I like biscotti.
Biscotti.
I like biscotti.
No, biscottis are these little
Yeah,
like
biscotti.
elongated like chip
Yeah.
cracker cookies type things.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for war, bro.
Listen, it's the truth. And what China's doing is watching this unfold. They're gonna let Russia do the heavy lifting and follow right behind them. And they got the Navy. Russia got everything else.
Yeah.
And this is how they can easily invade this country.
China got Russia's back.
Right, that's my point. To a degree.
Yeah.
To a degree, because they have the same interest.
But true, but they had this article, right? And they said that Xing, I call him Xing, bro. Right?
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping.
Xi. I'm gonna say Xi, man. Xi.
Xi Jinping.
Just say Xi. Just say Xi.
G-Man.
Xi, right?
G-Man.
G-Man, right? G-Man and Putin, the homie, right? He's not my homie, but I'm saying they're homies.
Listen, don't forget the Most High says he's against Gog and Magog.
He's against.
So we can't act. We're not walking here with Russian flags out.
Yeah, we're not. The king of Moab and the king of
Magog.
Magog. How about that? That's the biblical terminology, right?
The homie.
Yeah. But they said in the article that their brotherhood has never been this strong.
Hell yeah, because you know why? They see weakness and they got a shot.
And they're smiling. They're smiling. They're looking at each other like that. They're smiling, and they're like,
We got 'em.
They had this like, we're gonna win. They don't look unconfident. They look like they're confident. They're more confident than the average nation now when it comes to stepping up to the states.
They got them by the. I'm not gonna say it. They got them. All they got to do is finish up Ukraine, and everything starts to shift. I don't know if you're watching the Germans. People are protesting. They're going crazy out.
Yeah.
In Moldova, they're going crazy.
Exactly.
In France, they're going crazy. They're all rioting, saying, "Listen, stop the sanctions on Russia."
Exactly.
It's getting cold out here, bro. I'm not lying. They're complaining. They stop this shit.
Stop this, because you can't go out there and riot all day.
You know who's making money off this, right?
Who's
The
making
Chinese are making money. They're selling these warmers, these heaters out. These high-end heaters.
The cheap ones, though.
But they're very powerful. They're very powerful, and they're selling them to Europe right now. They're making a killing.
They're getting paid off this.
They're also sitting back here taking cheap Russian gas and doubling the profit and reselling it over to Europe.
Put a little water in it.
No, they don't have to. You can't do
You
that.
gotta do a little something with water.
You put water. You can't put water in gasoline.
DPG in it.
Come on, But what are we saying? They're capitalizing off the transition, and they're following Russia's military premise. So anyway, that's what's happening, and this is dealing with over time. We're explaining what's happening now and how it can easily build into further scenarios. Listen, the way they're going, how America keeps instigating Russia, they keep instigating China. I don't see how this couldn't happen. It's not like they're saying, let's rethink our strategy, let's establish peace. They're starting to slowly sanction China, bro.
Yep.
They need China desperately, but they're going to sanction them.
And on a spiritual level, at the same time, they're unlocking the Baphomet code. They got the kids cutting their parts.
Let's not go yet.
Okay.
We'll go there. We're gonna. It's like 8:45.
Okay.
Okay.
Done. I'm gonna get out of here.
Baphomet.
It's the cap. So what I'm saying is, what they're doing is they're passing laws. They're allowing. Yeah, I see it from the Most High perspective. I'm not gonna be with this place. They're letting children get their things cut off. They're passing more laws. Yeah.
I saw something yesterday where at a gay parade or a gay festival, they had like a Satanist booth out. at the gay parade, and they were sitting back here giving people upside down crosses. They were, what do you call it? You know when you got the dust and
Yeah.
like the Ash Wednesday type thing.
Yeah.
They're doing the ash and doing the upside down
That's
cross
crazy.
out on the people, and it was a hell Satan. Listen,
It's real.
It's a real thing, and everybody's coming there and sticking their head out and moving their foreheads out so they can get
This place is not going to be.
christened
It's
on
not
the
going to be
left hand
defended.
side.
And then they just put the first commercial, the first child philia. I made that word up because no, I want kind of
Yeah.
right.
Flag, red
So
flags.
so they just did a what's that people Facebook, right?
Yes.
They did a commercial online with a grown man holding a little girl's hand.
Wow, bro.
And it was the flag and the rainbow and the letters, and it's a grown man holding a little girl's hand. It's not like I'm being a father.
No.
It was a different kind of hand holding going on, and that's now projected on a
Beginning to be
commercial
the
level.
norm.
When they start putting in commercials, they're already like 50% there, bro.
So what's happening is in the end of this chapter, it talks about how Most High says, "My name is going to be known to the nations out there." You're like, listen, man, I'm gonna sit back here. You guys are gonna know who I am. This is getting too goddamn much. So I'm glad you kept going there because it's the truth. It's morally falling apart. On a geopolitical level, they're falling apart.
But spiritually
It's
declining.
their time.
Exactly.
And if you sit back here and see the decline of Rome and how they fell apart, it's very similar to how America's falling apart and their decline is coming. So, okay, so let's get verse 10.
Come on. Ezekiel
We'll
38
never
and
get to
verse
this
10.
chapter.
I'm done.
That's why I
I'm
was
done.
saying
I'm
that.
done. I gotta shut up.
No, it's cool. It's almost 9 o'clock though, so it's okay. Read on. We got time.
It says, "Thus saith the Lord power, it shall also come to pass, that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought."
So what it's saying is Russia, you're sitting back here, you're steamrolling, you're hitting the Americas, you're going to war, you're taking the war to them after taking the back seat for long stretches of time. The thing is this, nobody knows, it might not be Putin who ends up being God. If you sit back here and listen
God,
to
the king of-
different type of,
God.
Gog is the leader of Magog. He might sit back here and die in a couple of years, or in a year. Point is, but the overall Russian mentality is to take the war to them. Putin's mentality has been, let's be diplomatic. Let's make sure we explain everything and we take every diplomatic approach before we just start going crazy.
Doesn't he send letters before he makes moves?
Well,
he always sends letters.
He sends letters. He communicates. He's a brilliant communicator, but the funny thing is, because he's exercised restraint, he's got the majority of the world on his side. He's got Africa on his side. He's got China on his side. He's got India on his side. He got Iran on his side. He's got Syria on his side.
Saudi's on like too.
Saudi Arabia likes him, but they like listen. You know what Saudi's saying? You know what? I want to quit my man. Just give me a few months. Give me a few months, and I can cut him off. But I'm not ready to cut him off yet. But I do like you. I like you a lot. Just give me a little time. Yeah, it's texting at night, 1 a.m. in the morning. Like, what you doing? I'm just resting, I'm just chilling.
You was like, who you talking to?
No,
Like,
nobody, daddy.
Biden now. You gotta get all right, girl. Get the oil. You got oil over here.
Listen, we're going here because Biden and they were trying to get the Saudis to manufacture more oil, and they're like, no, we can't do that. So the breakup is imminent. It just ain't there yet. So we're seeing how things are shifting, but the shifting isn't like tonight shifting.
Exactly.
It's a process. All this is a process. So we're here at the process for Russia, boots on ground. There's Spetsnaz, there's special forces. You know they haven't sent their specs and special forces out there yet. Their only badass army group that's gone out to Ukraine has been the Chechens. And them dudes is rugged as hell too. But they haven't brought the Russian special forces.
So they say, they've been saying
They've been bringing they brought their C team out. I'm not even lying. They brought their young guys, their new recruits. They haven't even brought their dogs in yet. They haven't. It's the go team. In middle school sports, it's the go team. You got A, you got B, you got the go. They sent their go team out in February.
Send them out first.
And they sent their old Soviet Union weaponry. They hadn't even shown
So
their real
they
stuff
be going
yet.
old. They be going with old.
They go on with their old Cold War stuff too. Anyway, so now we're there. So now it says a thought's going to go into their mind. Read on. Thou shalt. This is a thou shalt.
Come on, verse 11.
And thou shalt think an evil thought.
Okay, come on.
Read on.
Verse 10.
No, give me verse 11 now. We're good.
Come on, verse 11. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages.
Unwalled villages.
Unwalled villages.
So what they're saying is, now that we've infiltrated the country, think about what's happening in Ukraine. When Russia started accelerating the war, what they start taking out?
Villages.
No, they didn't. They took out infrastructure, electrical, water. They take your power out, and they sit back, and they've been really. They took a long time before they did that. But when you're in war, you take out your power, you take out your water, you take out your infrastructure, you take out roads. What they're saying is it's going to go beyond your regular basic rules of war. We're going to start taking out unwalled cities.
So okay, so when you say unwalled, when it says unwalled, that's not talking about a country's ability to defend itself. It's not talking about borders. What is it?
It's just talking about infrastructure that's not military based.
Okay.
Unprotected, ungoverned. Like you,
Okay.
like rules of war. You're sitting back here. You're gonna go and just take what?
No civilians.
You're just gonna take. You're not gonna hit civilian spots. I'm
Significant-
just gonna take infrastructure out.
Right.
I'm gonna take military infrastructure and focus on the military. When you sit back and watching how they're going to war, Kiev's power is out. Their water is out. They're cold as shit out there in Ukraine now. But you asked for it. They asked for it.
They asked for it.
They were blowing up Russian bridges, being clowns and maniacs out. Now you're cold. And now you guys listen. Slava Ukraine, we're cold. We're so cold out here now. Bring your nukes and kill them. He was saying that like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We need America to strike nuclear bombs on them first. Anyway, point
Out of
is,
nowhere.
No, he was just saying that. Then all of a sudden, a month later, there's dirty bomb talk.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro.
The rules of engagement are going to change.
And this is what's happening here. The rules of engagement changing. This is a thought's going to hit in your mind. Now they're going to start taking out civilian infrastructure, unwalled cities. They're going to start taking the people they're going to start attacking in the midst of war. It's not going to just be the army. It's going to be the people that are adjacent and are close to the people, to the war. Which means what? Which means we're going to be involved now. We're going to be part of this battle now, because now they're going to start coming at the people of Israel, because we are in this country also, right? It said it in verse 8, how we were sitting back here, we dwelt safely with the eagle in America. After we got smashed in the 1700s, we assimilated and we're part of, I'm American too. That's what we say.
Yeah, and this is like on a small level.
My story is equipped to the American dream,
Exactly.
American story.
Yeah.
It is over
There you
years
go.
of being a slave
You
and
know,
getting
okay,
beat down.
we gonna go
Now
to
we're
Austin.
Americans now. So
Yeah.
the point is this: so as Russia's coming and taking this place over, we're going to be affected also. Read on.
Come, verse 11 again. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, having neither bars nor gates.
They're just talking about America in general. But if you start going at the people in America, you're going at the Israelites too. It ain't just Edomites like Russia is most of the damn time. It's Edomites and Mongols. You got Israelites here. So in the midst of them going into these infrastructures and engage, they're going to be engaging us also.
Exactly.
Read on.
Come, to take a spoil, and to take a prey.
So now their purpose is to take spoil and to take prey. Let's keep going.
To turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations.
So now what's happening is, he says, the Russians are going to be taking a spoil, taking prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited. Read on.
Which have gotten cattle.
No, give me upon the people.
And upon the people that are gathered out of the nations.
So what's happening is that they're going to sit back and put all the people that are now Americans whose nationalities were from different places.
Yes,
This great
that
melting pot. So he's going at all the people in this melting pot. Read on.
which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land.
Now, what this verse is talking about, that's gotten the cattle and goods, the one part of the United States that the majority of countries want is the Midwest.
And people don't think about that. People never think about that because we be like, man, the Midwest ain't got nothing over
The
there.
Midwest got farms.
It-
The Midwest got factories.
Yeah, that matters.
Listen,
To a
because you know
country-
why? You know why it matters? Because China can't feed their people.
They're hungry, bro.
Listen, China is trying to sit back and establish farmland to feed their nation. Look online. I have a couple articles that talk about why are we selling farmland to China.
They need it.
We've been selling, listen, America has been selling out for years leading up to this point. And China has been eyeing and buying the farmlands and the port cities.
And,
the West
yeah.
Coast in particular.
Yeah.
They've been buying out a lot of the port cities in the West Coast and the farming places in the Midwest. Because that's what the Chinese need.
They want to feed their people. Listen, they've been giving their people plastic rice.
Yeah.
They've been sitting here talking about how can they remanufacture excrement, take the protein out. This is how far they're going. They have a problem, bro. You don't think about it on that level unless you have a real problem.
But you got billions of people in that country.
Yeah, we gotta take excrement. We have to strip it out and take the protein that's usable and then reapply it and make new foods out of it because they have to feed their people. So if it's that desperate over there, they look 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ahead. They're not like living like Israel, day to day, check to check. They're not living like that.
Scratch and survive.
They're projecting their growth factor. How many women, how many men, how many females can we
And that's
sustain
why
in
they're
society?
cutting. Even with that, they're like they can only have one kid, and that shit ain't enough. It's still a problem.
Only gonna have one kid per family, and you look up, we still can't feed these people.
Huh.
So they're like, listen, we're going over there to the Midwest, which is what? What's in the Midwest?
You got Iowa,
Uh-huh.
you got Texas, you got Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Arkansas. That whole Bible belt.
All them cows.
The whole Bible belt
God.
is where the land's getting bought up, and they need the ports to transport the grain from the Midwest back out to China. That's why they have all the West Coast covered. And you got your ports, you got your military bases, and you said it was it Panama?
It's Peru.
Peru, you got that's further down, but you got Mexico got a base. You got all these places where they have bases. But yeah, so the point is this. This is why this
They
is
have
why
beads.
Russia now, when they get to America, they're gonna go into these unwalled cities and try to take the same resources. Think about this. Why do all these countries go to these countries anyway? To take resources.
There's
Why is
Chinese-
America in Syria? They're taking oil and wheat.
This
They're
Chinese
taking
company-
70% of the wheat of Syria
That's-
every day.
That's crazy, bro.
70% of your GDP, which is what you need to survive as a nation.
That's-
They're taking it. Listen, on this whole green kick,
Yeah.
you got Esau out here in Congo going crazy on cobalt. They're taking all of the what's that other country where lithium is?
Argentina? No,
it's
it's
not
Chile,
Argentina.
Chile.
It's Chile. They're going, but they're going crazy. It's a fight now to bring the president that they want in there, so they can control the lithium game.
Yeah.
They got to bring the right president in that will sell out his people, so that the Americans can get the lithium at a good price, and create the factories to get. Because anyway, I don't want to go too far into that, but every place that America is at, they're there for the natural resources. So why would Russia not be in America for the natural resources?
And China, this is years ago, they got, when Texas was booming with oil, when we were booming with oil, we were oil booming out. I mean, at the mall, you had dudes coming through with the big, the outfits where they were oiled up.
Yeah.
Everybody was rich, driving big trucks. Everybody was
Yeah.
laughing and spending good money.
Smiling too.
Everyone had a good time out. It was a good time back then for average people.
Yeah.
Average people walking around smelling
Yeah.
like oil. Women like, man, he smell like oil. He's like oil. That oil. He got money.
Yeah.
But the point is, they started having Chinese-owned oil companies on U.S. soil, bro. That's not smart.
So if they're doing that and they're buying it, when Russia hits the ground, you don't think they're going to be doing that when they have an opportunity to take over the country? They're going to sit back here and seize the grain. They're going to seize all the resources they can get and take it back to their countries, so their countries can sustain.
Like what we do.
And sit back and take the money or take the profits and flip it and build up their own GDP. Crazy is Russia don't even need grain right now. You know how much their bread costs in Russia? 99 cents. How much our bread in America costs?
$3-5.
Their shit's 99 cents, bro. They are straight.
It's all good right now.
So, but they can take that grain and sell it to Russia, sell it to China or wherever it needs it. What you're going to read in the next verse is that they're about to make America a spoil. So while Russia gets to America and they go and get this grain from the Midwest, they have their ports in the West Coast, and they start making America a spoil, like they've been spoiling the rest of the world. That's what's happening here.
That was
read verse 12.
That's how you read.
Yes, you read what you sow. Read verse 12 again.
Ezekiel 38 and verse 12.
On a lot of the different stories that explain how China's buying all this farmland in the U.S. What's that?
So when they get here, are we just playing the cut, or we letting them have it?
No, with us?
Yeah, like
We're going to be good Jews and sit our ass down.
So we're just gonna play the cut.
We're going to sit our ass down and wait till Yeshua saves us out. We're
This is the reason why you
the
said
Wolverines out. This ain't going to be Red Dawn out. We are not doing Red Dawn shit out. Wolverines! We're not doing that, bro. We are chilling out.
This is why
No way.
you're supposed to be serving the Most High.
This is the defense from doing the work out.
Come.
So, read verse 12.
Verse 12. To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land.
So once again, we're going to go to a verse real quick. It's Jeremiah chapter 51 and 48 to kind of give a little more clarity on this point. Jeremiah, somebody else get it real quick for me. Jeremiah 51 and verse 48.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 48.
Let me get it. I'm talking all this jazz. 51 48. Read that.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 48. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon.
Sing meaning they're going to sit back and be sad for Babylon. Or they're just going to sit back and see them falling. Read on.
For the spoiler shall come unto her from the north.
The spoilers, when it says to spoil something, that means what? To
rob.
take, to rob. The spoilers from the north is referring to who? Russian Ruskies, man. What's that?
Definition of spoil?
Spoil, to damage severely or harm, especially with reference to its excellence, values, or usefulness.
So they're going to sit back and destroy them, but they're also going to take the property for themselves, or take the natural resources themselves. Yes, sir.
So we're okay with them just coming in our houses and taking our shit.
Well, I don't think it's going to get that way. The scripture's going to say why. They're not going to be knocking down doors and taking our last can of pasta. our last can of prego.
He makes really good pasta.
I believe it. I believe it.
He's upset about that. He's like, listen, I can't lose.
I'm gonna die for this pasta, my dude. No, listen. It's gonna explain. We're just once again, we're painting the picture about the times. America's gonna get taken out. They're gonna be spoiled by the country from the north. So for the spoilers shall come unto her from the north. The country is going to take from the core of this country is coming from the north.
Hey, can I say one point? And this is why all that marching and protesting and Black Lives Matter and home picket signs was for nothing. All this work you put in to sit here and be an activist and be a political activist, and I'm gonna go ahead and we gotta go in the government and beat it from the inside. Listen, it's all good. All that civil rights work goes in the drain when another country takes over.
Yeah.
You have a new slave master. All your civil rights. They don't speak MLK.
No.
They're in Russia. They don't care about his dream.
Nah.
So put your hope in all that. And put your hope in.
Well, think for example is this. You know, Gates and all the world leaders, they sat back and bought the majority of the grain and the land, the farmland in Ukraine.
Yep.
Do you think they're gonna still have the title to that shit when Russia takes it over?
Nope.
That title is no longer theirs, bro. That land and that grain is going to Russia. Just like everybody that's buying this, having this, owning this.
But I have a receipt.
Shit.
I bought it fair and square.
No.
I made computer
This is
95
my
Windows.
farm. No, this farm is not yours anymore.
They don't
sir.
give a damn.
So they're gonna spoil and take that was once yours.
Yeah. So
Straight MCA
all
stuff.
that work. I'm
Got to
gonna
get
come
mine
up.
now.
I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna
take
come up in
yours.
America. I can't help it, man. Come on, man. That's how Russia's rolling, though.
I know it is. So what you gonna say?
all this work we've been doing, putting hope in Babylon. I'm just putting hope. I know this Israelite thing's serious out, but you know I got dreams out. I got hopes and wishes. Listen, all that hoping and wishing and dreaming and sitting here playing the entrepreneur game out. Listen, I'm not telling you don't make your money, but I hope you understand that when somebody else puts their title and say we own this, and these other governors, they're already in bed with the Chinese, bro. What you don't get is they've been paid by the Chinese. All these laws are pro-Chinese. They're passing laws that are pro for the. How you know who? I'm telling you who's winning the law. You know who's winning by who's getting the best business deals based on our political rule system. So when we make new rules and the Congress drops this rule and drops that law, and it always benefits Chinese companies and organizations, and you got the President of the United States and his son is shaking hands doing deals, and all these Chinese corporations are getting rich, and they just happen to meet. When his son draws a painting, and this paints some crap, and then every painting that Biden's son drops, for some reason, is $200,000, which is richer than, consistently, to the new artist, and the Chinese guys are buying all Biden's son's paintings. You don't think that's somebody
throwing that shit right in the trash?
Yeah,
bro.
this dude's right here painting smiley faces out, and this is so great.
I don't know. I've never seen.
It's not a smiley face, but it's crap. He's painting crap. It's crap paintings, and guess what? He's getting 200 G's, and people that really bust their tails trying to do art, they're not getting paid a third of that. So this guy's son magically paints paintings, and he's getting funded by these great political people, and he's doing corporations. What we're saying, the Chinese are benefiting from all the different laws that the United States is passing. Why? Because China's actually paying off these politicians in these liberal cities.
And now with all that happening, it leads to this point where now war is actually boots on ground in America, and they're going to war. Now they're going to be spoiling the country of America from within. What's worth spoiling? It's the natural resources. It's the farming. It's the land. That's what the world is. There's been sayings about how there's a shortage of food, a shortage of resources, a shortage of all these different things in the world. So food is going to be a commodity. So they're going to sit back and take the natural resources, just like America has been doing for the whole world since they got into power. So with that, we got that verse in Jeremiah. Let's jump back to Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 13.
Ezekiel 38 and verse 13.
You can look back on the map too online. It kind of shows you where these names are coming from. Read on.
Sheba and Dedan.
Sheba and Dedan. If you look on the map, you'll see Sheba and Dedan are in the east, the southeastern side of the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, Sheba and Dedan are in the southeastern part of the Arabian Peninsula. So it's talking about the Saudis in a nutshell. The Saudis, Sheba and Dedan are the Saudis. Read on.
And the merchants of Tarshish.
And all merchants of Tarshish. We know Tarshish is in Spain. But on a larger scale, it's talking about everybody that's been in bed with the Americans.
Okay.
That's been financially tied to the Americans, specifically dealing with the Saudi Arabians.
This is a money war.
Well, it's just talking about these particular people and how these people are being affected by Russia coming through and running roughshod in America. Read on.
With all the young lions thereof.
And we know the lions are also referred to as the Arabians, the lions of Arabia. Okay, so these Arabians, the Saudis, who single-handedly out of all the Arabian countries, the Saudis benefited the most out of what America had kind of built them into. The Saudis were nothing in the 1950s. Because some Edomites from California came over there and started spending money and drilling in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. They were nothing. They were straight camel.
They're like Afghanistan.
They were running dromedaries. They were broke, bro. Bedouin. They were straight Bedouins. Until in the 50s, Esau came out there and started drilling for gold, and pow, jackpot.
And developed them.
And when they developed them, and they're the only country out there that's not in debt to them.
Oh wow!
Because the Saudis set a deal up to where they were able to pay for their own infrastructure. Most of the time, countries can't pay back their loans.
Okay.
They were able to pay back their loans, but the way America had them by the cojones was the fact that they said, listen, we'll put military bases in Saudi Arabia to protect you from these other Arab guys that are going to try to come in and gangster you and steal your shit.
Yeah.
So we'll protect you. We'll keep our military on your side, but you got to sit back here, give us a good deal on the gold, on the oil, and buy our American bonds. By buying the American bonds, it was able to keep the dollar elevated, along with the petrodollar being established. They were able to sit back and control the world and the global economy with those two moves. So they let the Arabians kind of roll and do their own thing with the protection. But also the threat was this: if you cross us, we can always leave these military bases and leave you exposed to the rest of the Arab
that
world.
Want you because you're
that
rich.
want you.
You're paid.
That want to sit back and take you over. And this is how they've had the leverage over Saudi, and that's why Saudi is not so quick to say, I'm just going to leave America. They got to get assurance.
Got to be a sure bet.
They got to be a sure bet. They got to make sure Russia can do what America's doing. They're not going to sit back and just leave the petrodollar unless they know for sure Russia can protect them.
They're not falling for the hype.
Well, that's the point. That's what they're like. We like this BRICS thing. We like this thing, but let's see how this war goes.
Yeah,
I know that's what they're saying, because they can't give up their protection on something that's not a sure thing. So these Saudis are sitting back here watching the effects of America getting taken over by the Russians. Read on.
Come on, verse 13 again. Sheba and Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, Art thou come to take a spoil?
And there's like, you coming to sit back here and take this spoil? We just read it in Jeremiah 51 and 48. The answer is yes. Russia is coming to take the spoil with their allies, the Chinese, and whoever else is ride or die, bringing military in it. We know India is riding with them, because India is trading directly with the Russians, rubles for rupees. So they're sitting back here taking care of each other. The whole East is kind of starting to collect together. Exactly. Iran is united with them. Syria is united with them. The point is this: so everybody's watching the events unfold. They're like, okay, you sitting back, you're taking America for spoil? Read on.
Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey?
Hell yeah.
To carry away silver and gold? To take away cattle and goods? To take a great spoil?
They're taking that cattle and goods and the riches and the power of American economy to make it theirs.
Yep.
So, but this move will affect the Arab world. The Arab world now, at this particular point, will have to make that transition, have to make that commitment now to Russia, if they want to stay protected.
They got no choice.
Because now they're exposed. So this is why this verse is explaining that this move is going to directly affect the Arab world in particular. Okay?
So what's in the news? All we're watching is biblical prophecy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All it is everything geopolitical is truly connected with the scriptures. And if we have the discipline, the fortitude, and desire, you can learn a lot. The Most High is telling us a lot through all the events that are gradually happening. It's just not happening like this. It's a gradual adjustment that you're seeing over time. Now, we're going to hold this verse, and we're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 35. No, Ezekiel 25. Ezekiel 25, verse 12 through 14.
Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 12.
Whenever you're ready.
Let me see. Let me see. Ezekiel 25, verse 12 through 14. Let's do that.
Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 12. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because that Edom hath dwelt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, or
So
Yahweh.
it says, because Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. So once again, the Most High has got Edom anyway, because of what they did to Israel from the time of Babylon,
Exactly.
and then the multiple times after that. What was your question, sir?
Who's Moab?
Moab are the so-called Chinese people. But that's another thing. Let's keep going.
Verse 13. Therefore, thus saith the Most High, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom,
So the Most High is going to sit back here and take out Edom. Read on.
and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman.
So Taman is still a city in Edom. Taman is a city in Edom. Okay, you can see it online. Petra, Basra, Taman is the city of Edom. Okay, read on.
And they of Dedan shall fall by the sword.
So what he's saying is Edom's going to fall, and the people of Dedan are going to fall, which is the Saudi Arabians. This is a prophecy about Edom falling simultaneously with the Saudis,
Wow, that's crazy.
because they're in bed with each other. They've been in bed with each other for years. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna do that. They've been in bed with each other for years. Okay. When I think,
I'm sorry,
when I think two,
Yeah,
my
I'm sorry,
finger just
bro.
goes there.
I'm
But just
sorry.
keep reading. I keep reading it.
It looks crazy.
He got me.
Oh my
Out.
God.
Verse
He got me.
14.
Well, see, they couldn't see. But keep going.
Got you on an exposed video.
Exactly. So listen, let's keep going. So Edom and Saudi Arabia is going to fall by the sword, because if you look at it, you're going from Taman all the way down until Dedan is the extent of the entire Saudi Arabian peninsula. Okay, so read on.
Verse 14. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh.
So we know the Most High is his hatred and his angst is fixated on Edom, but the residual is all the nations that did business and were hand in hand with their crooked business dealings. They're gonna fall also. So America's fallen. Saudi is patient. The Saudi Arabians are patiently watching what's happening to them, and eventually they're gonna fall also. We got that so far. We're gonna let that go and go back to Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 14. Matter of fact, 14, 38 and 14.
Ezekiel 38 and verse 14. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and saying to God, thus saith the Lord power.
Matter of fact, hold that. Before we do that, let's do this real quick. Let's go to Revelations chapter 18, verse 3, 11, and 15. Revelations chapter 18, verse 3, 11, and 15.
Cool. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 3 reads, For all nations have drunk of the wine of wrath of her fornication.
All nations have participated in America's policies and their I guess the way they've set up their democracy, and how they've bullied the rest of the world under the guise of democracy. How they've robbed the rest of the world under the foundation of a democratic government.
God.
When you sit back and hear that America has gone into a country and they're looking for a democratic leader, what they're saying is we need a puppet that's going to take the bribes that we need, push the propaganda, control the people, so we can rob the people of their natural resources.
They want Jesse Jackson in other countries. Like we have like the same way they give us these puppet leaders.
Yes.
The Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons. They think we think, oh, they only do it to the black man. No, they do this to everybody, bro.
They just whipped up on us real quick.
Exactly.
Then they take over the world, and as different leaders rise up,
God.
they'll sit back here. If the leader is about the people and sitting back here and establishing women's rights, and equal pay for everybody and upgrading the people's way of life, they call them communists. They label them communists and they break them down. Just like they did Gaddafi, like they did most of these countries, Grenada, all these countries the CIA sat back here and wiped out from the 40s on up. If you look like you were trying to simply help the people, you were socialist. You were socialist, either you were with communism or you were a hop, skip, and a jump for being a communist. So that's my justification to come in, wipe you out, kill you, and bring another guy in that's going to do things our way. That's democratic, but he was really not really democratic. He was really a dictator.
Yeah.
He was trained by us how to manipulate the people. Point is, the whole world has drunk of this approach and Esau's methodology to control and subjugate the people of their natural resources. Read on.
Come. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
The rest of the nations have sat back here and aligned themselves with America for the most part. And any ones that didn't will get destroyed. The NATO, European Union, they've all aligned themselves with the big dog, and they just get little scraps and pieces of what they want to give.
They get to eat with the big dog.
They get to eat. They either get to eat some type of scraps. But let's keep going.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich.
Everybody that played ball with their policies, they blew up.
And those
the kings, when it says the kings of the earth, because the only ones that got paid are the kings. The kings, the leaders of each of these countries, they got rich. The merchants were the kings, because the kings were the ones who had the access to the payoffs. The rest of the people didn't get anything. So the kings got rich. The heads got rich off of this, off of Esau's economic policy. Read on.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacy.
Now, let that verse go and go to verse 11.
God, verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore.
Listen, they're not going to be able to capitalize off of America's system once America falls.
Because the system's going to be down.
It's going to be down. So they're not going to be able to make the money that they made once America is spoiled and looted, like we're reading about in Ezekiel. Read on.
God, verse 15.
Yes, sir.
And the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing.
They're going to sit back here weeping and wailing. All these merchants, everyone that capitalized off this system is going to be downtrodden because this place is going to be spoiled and they're not going to be able to make money like they used to make. Okay? America ain't going to be able to just print dollars up and start and create economic productivity in these different countries. So everybody who benefited from American policy no longer will be, and the first ones that were the Saudis. They actually came up from America. All the other countries where their infrastructure or America's infrastructure was pushed, like in Latin America, Indochina, all those countries where their infrastructure was pushed and their policies, everybody diminished. The Saudis blew up because America needed the Saudis. They were really the only ones that, as a nation, that got super rich, while everybody else was taken and robbed and exploited. That makes sense? And that's why the Saudi Arabians were talked about in Ezekiel 38. Now let's go back to Ezekiel 38. I just want to show you a lot of the merchants are going to mourn when America gets spoiled, but specifically the Saudis, because they lost a lot from this situation. They're going to lose a lot from this situation. So give me Ezekiel 38 and 14.
So it might not go so well for those that they're up there consider this different play. It ain't gonna work out either way. They're too deeply in bed.
They're too deep in. They've been in deep in for years, since the 50s, 70 years. Read on.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 14. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus saith the Most High, in that day, when my people of Israel dwell safely, shalt thou not know it?
So he's saying, if Israel, at this time when Russia was infiltrating America, if they were safe, wouldn't you know it? The answer is,
if they were safe.
If they were safe. What he's saying is, America's not going to be safe. And our people are not going to be safe when Russia conquers America. This is the point. Israel is going to be in danger when this shift happens. Read on to verse 15.
Verse 15. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts.
And we've been reading in Jeremiah countless times that Russia's coming from the north. That north country is coming to sit back and wipe out America. Read on.
Thou and many people with thee.
And so it's talking about Russia, and all of their allies are coming from the north parts. We've been talking about that quite often. Read on.
All of them riding upon horses, a great company, and a mighty army.
So somehow logistically they're going to get their shit over there. I can't tell you how. They're going to get there.
The only way is across the Bering Sea into Alaska.
Well, that's the quickest way.
Well, I mean, again, you need the Blue Water Navy to. I mean, you're looking at a World War II Normandy invasion type scenario.
What I've heard from different media outlets, and it's alternative, so you got to take it with a grain of salt, is they already have military implants already out here and in Canada, and it's a matter of time that they
the
get
Chinese
unleashed.
do.
I'm talking about the Russians too.
Yeah, I heard the Chinese, I didn't hear the Russians.
I've heard both, but however it's going to happen, they're going to get boots on ground with all of the horses and the great company and the mighty army. So they're coming in a large fleet. Let's keep going.
Verse 16, Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 16. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land.
So listen, now verse 16 talks about how the Russians are going to come, in the process of the Russians taking out America, Israel is going to be collateral damage. This verse isn't saying the Russians are coming after the Jews alone. In the process of taking over America, Israel is going to be part of that collateral damage.
So we're not going to be
also.
unscathed from the conflict.
Exactly. We're going to be part of the conflict. Read on.
It shall be in the latter days.
I was reading this earlier in verse 8, these latter times. When you know it's really close to the end, is when Russia is around here and our life we're not super comfortable. That's when you know we're at the latter days. Okay? Read on.
And I will bring thee against my land.
Now it's talking about, on top of the fact that there's going to be a Russia in America, Russia's also going to be in the land of Israel. Okay, so Russia's going to be sitting back here, boots on the ground, against Israel, the country Israel, the land Israel. And I can see that very easily also. What they don't tell you in local media is that the Israelis are bombing Syria damn near every day. They bomb Damascus. They bomb their areas all the time, bro. And then Iran hates the Israelis. So that whole area, two of the allies of Russia are in bitter, heated war against the Russians. Against the Israelis. Now, Russia has military bases in Syria to help protect the Syrians. Turkey is a hop, skip, and a jump from Israel. All this stuff is going to happen simultaneously in America, and it's going to happen in the land of Israel. Okay? So, read verse 16 from the top.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 16. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. And it shall be in the latter days.
So in the midst of Russia fighting the Americans, Israel's going to be, the people Israel is going to be collateral damage. Read on.
And I will bring thee against my land.
Russia's also going to be fighting against the land of Israel, which is occupied by the heathen.
That's next level.
Which is going to keep going. Read on.
That the heathen may know me.
Now hold this, and we're going to go to Luke chapter 21, verse 19 through 24. Luke chapter 21. This is just a reminder that the people living in Israel are not Hebrews.
Okay.
And that they're the heathen. Luke 21, verse 19 through 24.
God.
Christ speaking. Read on.
Luke chapter 21, verse 19 reads, In your patience possess ye your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is not.
This is Christ saying when Jerusalem was compassed with armies, this eventually happened in 70 AD, or I'm going to say 65 AD. Know that the end is nigh. Because it took a little while for Jerusalem to get taken over completely by the Romans. So keep going.
Verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
He says when you start seeing the Romans surround Jerusalem, get the hell out of Jerusalem and get to the mountains. Get to the nations. And a lot of Israel, over 1 million Jews, fled from Israel to Africa by the way of Egypt because of what Christ said in these verses. Read on.
Come, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out.
Mm-hmm.
And let not them that are in the countries enter therein.
Don't let any Jews enter into Jerusalem. And everybody in Jerusalem, get the hell out of Jerusalem. This is not the time to settle in this country. Read on.
Come, verse 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
Now it's time for Israel to completely get broken up, get scattered out, and then go through their process of being dispersed to meet back with each other back in America. This was the beginning of that time. Read on.
But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people.
Mm-hmm.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
So Israel fell by the edge of the sword in 70 AD. Read on.
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
Eventually, we went to Africa, we thrived, and then we got sold into slavery. Everywhere we had our time. You know, that same time, that 1,000-year period where Rome fell, we had a little run. We were on top for a little bit. We were on top, and the Arab kingdom was on top. We gradually fell. We got sent into slavery after that 1,000-year period. It was the time for the eagle to reemerge. Okay? But that was also the time of our fall. Read on.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
The time of the Gentiles started with the Arabs out there after we left, and then the Edomites came in there, the eagle, and they've been in power since. So now the Gentiles have been occupying Jerusalem until their time is fulfilled. Their time is fulfilled when Russia is going to war with the Israelis. And Mosai was saying, what did he say in Ezekiel 38? Read verse 16 again.
Ezekiel chapter 38.
So now we know the nations are occupying Jerusalem until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Reading verse 16, this is about the time where their time is being fulfilled. Their time is almost up. Read on.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 16. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel, as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days.
So Israel's going to be targeted along with the rest of the people in America. That's on one front. Read on.
And I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me.
So now the Most High is going to sit back and pull Russia into Israel too, so the heathen can see him. Because what's the Most High's purpose? The Most High's purpose is to save Israel, but also to let the entire world know who's the power. This is a combination because the Most High's been working, he's been looking after Israel while giving all the nations their opportunities to run their course. And now this is the time that the nations are going to see who the grand power is. Okay? This is kind of talking about the Valley of Decision, the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And everybody's out in that Middle East area, and they're going to see who the power is. So simultaneously as there's, because in Ezekiel 39, we won't have time to do it today, the scripture says there's like 5-6 of their army is going to be spread throughout the entire world. They're going to be stretched. Listen, 5-6 of their army is going to be millions of people because their people are operating with that large.
All the states, right? The states?
No, the nation of the Russian army.
Okay, I got you. All right.
5-6 of their military is going to be deployed across the world. So you got a portion going to be in America, a portion going to be in the Middle East, a portion going to still be in Europe. They're going to be spread all throughout the world. So what the Most High is focusing on is America, where Israel is, and in the Most High's land, which is Jerusalem, Israel. Okay, read on.
So it says that the heathen may know me.
The heathen are going to know the Most High is black. Christ is black, and He's coming to save His people. Read on.
When I shall be sanctified in thee, O Gog, before their eyes.
He's going to be sanctified. Finally, He's going to be defended. Finally, judgment's going to happen to all the nations that have enslaved and destroyed Israel and the rest of the world.
And that's the prayer. And let them know thee, as we have known thee, and have been thy word.
So this is the time when we're going to be defended. So the Most High is going to come through for us when we're in danger in America, and when the land of Israel gets touched to a certain point. When the Russians get to Israel, you know it's about to end. When the war escalates in Israel and the war escalates in America, we won't give it time. We won't borrow time at that point. Okay, read on.
Verse 17. Thus saith the Most High, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time?
So verse 16, he's also saying he's going to destroy Russia at this time. Russia would have fulfilled their purpose. The Most High is using Russia to break down America. But now after America's taken down, He doesn't want the people to get destroyed. And that goes back to your statement. He's not going to sit back here and set up Israel to die and fall by the Ruskies.
Yeah.
The purpose was to break down America. And when they get close enough to where they can harm Israel, and when they can damage the land of Israel, then He's going to sit back here, and Christ is coming down to destroy the Russians in Israel. That goes. The details of that goes towards the end of this chapter and the majority of Ezekiel 39. Let's keep going.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 17. Thus saith the Most High, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years that I would bring thee against them?
He says, haven't you been reading the damn Bible? We've been talking about Russia, the bear, the eagle. You sit back and go through Ezra. You go through Daniel's. You go through Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51. You read Revelations by John the Revelator, Revelations 20. You get them Revelations 13. You get all these chapters, Revelation 17. It tells you about the eagle. Daniel's 2. Daniel 7 tells you about the eagle. Daniel's 2 talks about the bear. Daniel 7 doesn't talk about the bear, but Ezra's chapter 11, 2nd Ezra 11 and 12 talk about the bear. So like all these prophets have been talking about how the bear is the latter end of the eagle. And how when Russia gets to their peak and they start to touch the people and the land is when Christ is coming back. This is how you know it's getting close. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Read on.
Verse 18. And it shall come to pass at the same time, when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord.
So it's talking about when God comes back against the land of Israel, the people in America and the actual country in Israel, because our people ain't there.
Right.
But He's not going to sit back and allow Israel to get completely destroyed and ransacked by the Russian army. So we're going to hold this while we go to Revelations 20 and verse 8 and 9. That's what I was telling Elijah earlier. I'm coming back here, so I didn't want to have to spill the beans quite yet. Revelations 20.
You ready?
Give me a second, sir. Almost. Gracias. Read that.
Come.
What
Revelation.
verse we at in the scriptures? It's 20 and 18, right?
We're in 18, yes, right now.
So yeah, read that, sir.
Revelation chapter 20 and verse 8 reads, "It shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle."
So now the Most High is going to gather Gog, the leader of Magog, and the Russian army together to get them together to battle. He's gathering them in the Americas. He's gathering them in Jerusalem. or the Israel region, the land of Israel's region. Read on.
The number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
So Russia and their allies are like the sand of the sea at this particular point.
Big, yeah.
Well, first of all, they always talk about how Russians, if it wasn't for the Russians, they the German Nazis would have won World War II. The number of people that was used to wipe out, to eventually take out the German army, it was in the tens and 50s. Well, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was 7 million Americans that died. It was like 20 plus million Russians that died.
And they don't
that means it was 20 million Russians in the army. That number is out of this world, bro.
And they didn't get the credit they deserved.
They didn't.
And that's based off of
propaganda. But just the volume. And I remember reading about how General MacArthur said, "Listen, man, as soon as we sit back here and finish this war, you got to take out Russia. These guys are a damn threat. There's too many people. Their army is out of this world. You got to break them now." Nope, they didn't listen to him. But the point remains, they can if Russia does mandatory what do you call it? Draft. They can get a couple million.
Yeah.
They can get a couple million. That's how vast their empire is.
And they're shutting down people escaping out of there.
Well, they did that earlier,
Yeah.
and they're not even in draft mode. They're in volunteer. Who wants to volunteer? Now, propaganda might say they're forced people, but they're not. Listen, there's people online that are from Russia showing the draft locations, how they're lined up. These people that want to be there. When you get to the phase where it's all hands on deck, you'll get the millions. They're able to mobilize. They're almost ready to mobilize 300,000 people within a few weeks. The only reason they're not fighting heavily right now in Ukraine is because they got to wait till the ground freezes up. The ground's too slushy and the weather's too bad. And they need the ground to freeze up to get all the trucks and the tanks to mobilize from A to B. Once the ground freezes up by mid-November, early December, then they're going to sit back and bring that 300,000 in and really start busting people up. But while they're doing that, you have the first set of enlistees that are done, that have been trained, young guys, going to come in again. That's another couple 100,000. They're going to have waves of people coming in. These numbers are going to be out of this world. They can easily get into millions along with the allies, China and all these other countries coming in to sit back here and getting this war in Israel. You don't think Iran's going to be in Israel? You don't think Syria's going to get their chance now? Lebanon? All these countries have been brutalized by the Israelis. The Palestinians, you don't think they're going to be sitting back here joining up with Russia?
They would do it for free.
This place, for free, they would. They would. This place, Israel, is going to be littered with armies and battalions and allies ready to take out Israel. Because when America falls, think about this, when America falls, Israel doesn't have any more backers. America's been keeping Israel afloat. Israel has been around nothing but hostile people that can't stand them for all the wrong they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
When America falls, Israel is exposed. Now it's time to get them. What's that?
Didn't they work out a deal? Well, I guess maybe they haven't decided, but America's supposed to be putting nukes in Israel?
I don't know if they've done that, but
They were like negotiating or something like that?
I haven't read that. But I can't estimate it to happen. But if that happens, it's gonna get all hell's gonna break loose, bro.
Yeah.
But when America falls, that means Israel's protection is gone too, and Saudi Arabia speaking. So we all craziness in that land area, because Syria's been bullied, Iraq's been bullied, Iran's been bullied, Afghanistan's been bullied. They're coming at it. Lebanon's in shambles. Anyway, so all this is happening in the land of Israel. Where are we in Revelations 20?
Verse 9.
Read on.
And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about.
So now we're reading about how the Russians have compassed the camp of the saints about. That's in the land of America. They've encamped. They've encompassed the camp of the saints. They've taken over America. Now Israel is a possible target. They're collateral damage because of the fighting and the skirmishes in America as they're looting America of their natural resources. So as the saints are about to get encompassed, read on.
and the beloved city,
And Jerusalem, the beloved city, is about to get blown up. Read on.
and fire came down from the Most High.
Fire came down from Christ. Like now you connect this with 2 Ezra chapter 13, when Christ comes down from shooting that fire out of his mouth, that brimstone out of his mouth. And he's coming to sit back and destroy everybody in that war. The Israelis, the Russians, everybody. Read on.
And fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured it.
This verse 9 connects with what we're going to read in verse 19 and 20. Okay, so fire comes down from heaven and devours them. It's not going to just be the fire from nukes. You're going to have thermonuclear destruction. You're going to have the fire that comes from Christ himself. When we get a chance, we'll go to 2 Ezra chapter 13 and go through that breakdown if you haven't had it yet. But this is how we tie in all of these end time scenarios. Was that?
Tempest.
Yes, exactly. So let that go and jump back to Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse. Give me 18 and 19.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 18. And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel.
So God coming against the land of Israel. Read on.
Saith the Most High, that my fury shall come up in my face.
See how there's different prophets saying the same thing in their different way, but it's all saying the same point? Okay. So, read on.
Verse 19. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken.
Exactly. It's because now the Most High has had it up to here with what the nations have been doing against our people and against his land. Is that?
Ezekiel 36 and 5.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I know you got a flow too.
I'm got to flow, man. Yeah, we can go there. We can go there. I kind of want to finish it, but
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But let's keep going.
So verse 19, it says, Shurat the comma now. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel.
There's going to be a great shaking in the land of Israel because of what Christ is bringing to the table. Because of the fire and brimstone he's bringing to destroy. What's fire used to do? Purge. Back in the day, water was used. This last time when Christ comes back, it's going to be fire. Okay? And it's that brimstone. Now, we know America's going to be bombed with nukes. Israel's going to be bombed with the Christ's fire.
Spiritual power.
It's spiritual power. This is real. But you know, it's like a movie. He says the Jews are going to be encompassed. It ain't looking good for the Jews for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
That's why I said in Ezekiel 38 and 14, he says, if you guys were dwelling, no, the Jews, it's not good for the Jews either.
For us or
yes, it said that if Russia being in America was a good thing, wouldn't you know it?
Yeah.
He said, man, it ain't gonna be good. When they come out, they coming to war, bro.
Yeah.
They didn't want to love the Negro man out. I don't give a shit about the Negro man out. That's the love of the Negro man. They don't give a shit about the Negro man. Exactly.
They have BLM shirts.
Yeah, listen, they look at us. I don't know. There was a commercial in Russia about this Russian family.
It was crazy.
Were leaving Russia and going to America, and they were just. It was a parody about how bad America is, and they was talking to this lady, and she said, "Yes, my husband's right over here. He's coming back from the restroom," and it was a chick, and he was like, the husband and the wife were like, "It's your husband?" And then he went to the restroom.
We're going to America.
Yeah.
We're flying. They're on a plane flying to
America.
And the concept is, listen,
going to an American dream.
You want the American dream? Have the American dream.
So after they saw the husband and wife that was a woman and a woman, he goes to the restroom, and his brother just cuts him. He just cuts him and goes to the restroom, and they're like, and the guy was like, "What are you doing, man?" And then all the Edomites around him were like, "Listen, man, out of the 400 years of slavery, he deserves to cut you, man. He's like, what the hell is this shit, man? You just gonna cut me and be rude and be
It was a long
disrespectful?
line. It was a long
It was
line
a
of
long
play.
line. This old guy. It was like some Seinfeld stuff going on here. It's a Larry David situation, man. So and all the Edomite guys like sorry for doing you wrong 400 years ago, and the black guy's like, yeah. And he gets to the front of the line, uses the restroom. You're like, this is what America is. What kind of bullshit is this?
He's like, yeah.
And then he sits back down, and he gets some. He has a sandwich. It's like with some meat in it or something like that. And the stewardess said, "Listen, sir, what you're eating really offends the person behind you." He's like, "Well, they don't have to eat meat." He's like, "Yeah, but you're going to America, and they would really like you to stop eating the sandwiches you're eating." He's like, what the hell is this shit, huh? But eventually, after all these stupid American isms that he's experiencing,
they have children too.
Yeah, they all like get a parachute and jump out of the plane. We're going home, It's just showing you how crazy they look at Americans and how they look at the foolishness that's going on out here, BLM, all this LGBTQ stuff. So they're not coming out here loving the black guys out.
Yeah.
They're going to sit back here. You're in like everybody else. So as they're encompassing Israel, and the land of Israel is about to get blown up and destroyed, is when Christ is going to scoop in, deliver Israel, and blow up and destroy the nations in Jerusalem.
So that's an earthquake, right? So that's in combination with the fire?
You know what? I would imagine it's the fire, and I would imagine there's bombs involved too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It would have to be bombs and nukes going on at the same time. Because even when you sit
all
back
the arrows
here,
are coming down at the same time.
all the arrows going to America, and there's bombs going to be in Israel too. Listen, read verse 20. He's going to explain it.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 20. So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the
Listen,
heaven.
what is it going to take to get the fish going? What is it going to take to get the fish out of the sea? To get shook up?
That's poison.
That's the poison. That's the poison nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
That's going to be shot out.
What do you mean by that?
Oh well, thank
Let's
you for
find out.
asking. Thank you for asking, though. Yeah. When you sit back, if you look online, you'll check it out. The first thing we're going to show is like the Russian doomsday quote unquote submarine. It breaks down the logistics of it, and the bomb. They've been making nuclear bombs underwater. They can go in submarines underwater, and these bombs. I don't want to go into the whole breakdown because if you go into Habakkuk, it explains how there's underground nukes and how they're going to cause tsunamis.
And that submarine right now, the United States, they don't know where it's at. They say it's not in this port anymore. They knew it was in this port. And look up, it's not in this port. It's just somewhere.
And they have certain. The thing is this: if I'm not mistaken, I've heard it once, so I'm not 1,000% sure on it. But they said because this submarine is nuclear powered, you can't trace it. Because you can't trace the whereabouts of the submarine because it's nuclear generated. So they can sit back and operate on a signal to where you can't trace where the submarine is.
They say
So it's just in the water, bro.
Cities.
Well, the same thing with China. China will sit back here. They have nuclear powered submarines. They will sit back and be in the port and rise up out of the water in American ports. Oh, we're just doing an exercise. Bye bye. And they wouldn't know they were there. And it was a reminder. Hey, I can touch you whenever I want to.
You can't see what's in that water.
You can't see because you can't pick us up on radar. That's another way they can sit back here and infiltrate the country. But the power of these Poseidon bombs.
Poseidon.
Poseidon.
That's how that guy with.
Okay, Poseidon. Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to get the word.
No, Poseidon is better because that's what they're using. But these bombs start tsunamis, and the nuclear. If you read it, it tells you everything. It says Poseidon, 100 megaton warhead, thermonuclear weapon, twice as powerful as the Tsar Bomba, which is a Russian one also.
Wow.
And it says tsunami up to 500 meters high.
It's over.
Would carry contamination far off inshore. The water rises and all the contamination will go further in. So you really don't want to also, if you're in the Americas, be in the West Coast when this shit goes down.
Or in the East Coast.
Or in the coast.
Yeah, coast.
Listen, because when these tsunamis kick in, the nuclear backlash is going to be out of this world. And to kind of show an example of how the power of the nukes, You look on out again. The Poseidon is 100 megatons. The Zarabamba is 50 megatons. The one that was in Hiroshima and Nagasaki is like 15 kilotons. It's not even a megaton.
Wow.
So it's a fraction of the power of these underwater bombs that are waiting to happen. So when they talk about fish coming out to sea, this is how fish, every damn thing's coming out to sea.
I see.
You got these crazy tsunami tidal waves going on the shores of the world. Wild crisis coming down here, burning the country up with fire.
Oh,
this whole place is gonna be a shit show out.
Dead sharks all over the place.
Sharknado out. You give me the Sharknado reference out. I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. Kinda, they're dead sharks though. They're not living sharks biting and attacking. But kinda, yes, all these things. I'm glad you brought it a little lighter because this is really a scary topic. But like when all these things happen at the same time, the Most High is going to deliver Israel. And so this is going to be an amazing time, man. Scary and amazing. And that's why it says in Amos 5, it says, "Woe unto him that desire the day of the Lord." I think it's 5 and 18.
Yep.
Read that. Yeah. Read Amos 5 and 18.
Amos chapter 5, verse 18.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord."
Everybody says, "Yeah, we can't wait till the Esau has they fall." Everybody talking that crap, You go ahead and talk it. And talk big talk. You're gonna be in a fetal position crying like everybody else. Yeah, scared. In the corner crying like a little boy. This is not gonna be for the faint of heart. Read on.
To what end is it for you?
You don't know for sure if you're gonna make it. If you're gonna be martyred or you're gonna die and it ain't gonna work out for you. You don't know. Nobody knows for sure. Read on.
The day of the Lord is darkness and not light.
So there we go. So give me Ezekiel 38 and 20.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 20. So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence.
Just imagine when Christ comes back, and how terrifying this is going to be. That Romans says every knee shall bow. Everybody's going to sit back here. I think it's 14, Romans 14.
All hardship, yeah.
I think it's Romans 14 if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to take too much time. I just want to make sure. I think that's it. I can't find it. I think it's 14. But keep going.
So it says that all the men that are on the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Verse 21. It says, and I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord.
All his nations. Read on.
Every man's sword shall be against his brother.
At this same time, it's going to be nation and nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Everybody's going to be fighting against each other at the time that Christ comes and sanctifies the world. Read on.
And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood.
Meaning the pleading is the judgment that comes from all the wickedness of this earth, with disease and with death. Read on.
And I will rain upon him and upon his bands,
his armies. Read on.
And upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstone.
But he's putting this on Russia. That's why he says prophesy against God and may God. Because Russia's getting wiped out because there's still the ego. And we got to keep things in perspective. The Most High is bringing and ascending Russia up to destroy America. But let's not forget there's still the ego out. And there's still an extension of their brothers and their counterparts that they're going at. So they got to feel the punishment of all the things that America, Spain, Germany, Britain, all these countries did leading up to this point. It's now the bill is due. Now the bill is due, and they got to fall for the things they've done.
Prepare slaughter.
Exactly. That's where we're at. So let's keep going.
Verse 23. Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 23. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself.
He's going to sanctify himself against all the negative and the sin that's been going on in this world. Every time you read in the scriptures where the Moses says the sin rises up to heaven, to where he has to come in now and deal with it. This is the Most High is done with this shit, bro. He's done with America. He's done with Russia. He's done with Esau, bro. Read on.
And I will be known in mine eyes. Salakia. It says, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations.
He says, and the nations are going to see me come into power. You're going to see this black dude coming out of the sky, destroying Russia, destroying all the nations.
In the physical form.
And they're going to know that the Christ was a black man, and he came for the Jews out.
Every eye shall see, every knee shall
exactly.
bow. That's
where I was trying to find. I think it was 14:11, but the point is, everybody's going to see it happen. Yeah, it was 14:11. For it is written, as I live, Romans 14:11, as I live, said the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to the Most High. So then every one of us shall give account of himself to the Most High. And this is the time. Read on. Is that all?
No, it just says, and they shall know that I am the Most High.
And this is how the Most High will show everybody that he's the power to be followed, so that when this next rulership kicks in, they will have that physical example of who to follow and who to adhere to. Now, 39, I'm not going to go into it now. I don't want to start this late in the game on a whole other class. Yeah.
Part 3? Would it be a part 3 for that?
Man, I don't know, man. Do the Jews want part 3, man?
Yep.
I don't know, man. Everybody wants new stimulation every week. Jews want new stuff. Everybody wants new bars. They want new information, and I want this. You know what I explained earlier, right? Dance, give me new classes next week. Give me new information. Entertain me in a different way. I don't know. We might do it. We might break it up and do another class and come back to it. Okay. But anyway, it's 10. I think we should kill it at that, man.
Hey,
Are there any questions about the class? Does it make sense? Was it clear? Just want to make sure it was clear. Okay, then we're going to shut it down. The water for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Shalom, everybody.